Oh boy, this one's trouble right here. I wasn't expecting it to come right up. Apparently, one of them's got a sense of humor, we'll call it that. Inside here, this is an article that's near and dear to my heart about energy from AR620. Because I've been denied multiple times into the Army. I had to eventually get to the point where I looked at the drill sergeant and say, if you don't want me in the Army, then arrest me because I'm not leaving. What's so crazy about this is, let's open this up here. From 9 months ago. Not too long ago.
There's a new way to collaborate.
And we're going to actually double down on this board, play a couple of games of chess at the same time.
Hey, welcome to the channel.
Pause. Hold on, buddy. We'll get right back to you. Now, this is the last time I've heard anything about it, because I actually watched this one right here, and it's decent enough where they're talking about actually the grooming standards turnover. Now, we're not going to do this over. This is about presentation on a board of information, not necessarily personnel, of energy transmission between the system. Now, the usual bullshit excuse they give me is, oh, what about funeral detail? What, if I was serving next to them? I don't know why you would want me to do funeral detail for fucking the general or the sergeant major that I've never done once anything with. Same thing like you have generals that need a damn promotion with a whole damn fucking ceremony about it. I think that would be the stupidest thing a general could do in terms of saving costs around here and therefore lives. Energy transmission. But this is a lot about women's flight suits, pregnant women's flight suits, their bun in their hair. They actually touched on whether they were going to deal with shaving or not, which I agree with the heavy end. I was like, Black Rifle Coffee and Gillette, y'all. You know, get it in there. It's going to be an equity on thing as long as we keep cranking them through there. Seems like it's worth it to me on the transition of things. But let's go ahead and pause and go back to our regular promotion guy.
Hey, welcome to the channel, friends. As always, man, I am stoked to see
a lot more than what you think it is. But that's the nature of energy, because that would have been a case that I had nobody time fraud working that for me. And even when I tried to say, hey, what you want, recruiter, is me to do this. One, I was bringing this information to the table. Had it in hand, you could take a look at it. Hey, call somebody. It's like, I don't need to call somebody back. So the gatekeeper to heaven is you as a drill sergeant in front of me holding AR670-1. Not that you don't even think that I'm a retard. You're not going to cut me out. You're not going to call the cops on me because you know I'm not just some animal that's starting some shit inside of here. That would have been within the sharp standards of that base and these policies. But you couldn't do it, and when it come up later, you couldn't even call it in to ask for a secondary. You didn't even try to pass the waiver through.
That way you can pause the video if you want.
Just told me I had to rip it off my neck. I was like, well, take off your service record.
What does a soldier's appearance measure?
Now you just heard me on AR620.
That's right. What is a matter of pride for all soldiers? That's proper wear of the Army uniform.
I've been so many damn times.
What are the different types of badges that can be worn on?
You know, you look at somebody shiny on there, and what's it tell you?
4 badges that can
It tells
be worn
me,
on
hey,
military
this
uniform.
person has certain skills with rifle, has certain skills. I don't know how far they go. It means nothing in hand out front. Maybe their record of me taking that triangulation out front means a bit more. It means, sure, the standard has given them a general limit, and they've given me a reason to violate the law of conservation of information for some reason and skip a few steps. And I agree with that. I think that's a fair enough reason. I think that when you do the math, it's like engineering school. You'll learn plasticity, shear forces, deformation, character, or uniform inside of there that winds up playing later. Now, inside of there, again, you know, when I say that, he's got an airborne patch on there, and it's like, well, that's what this means to me in field theory. And I want anybody, whether they like it or not. And you're going to have to do that with rifle training and this, that, and the other when you pass that waiver for me on a Sharps violation.
You know, you're inspecting your team in the ASUs, and you notice.
I think it works better as the case we use for the study.
isn't parallel with the inside.
Because it's hard to find some wrong ones.
Lapel.
It's hard to find nitty-gritty stuff. It's usually, it definitely did, or it was a violation against this officer, push him through, Carl Sagan's universe loaf, math problems, trigonometry, algebra, multivariable calculus, single variable calculus, solid-state chemistry, organic chemistry, philosophy, psychology, the list goes on and on, but you'll pass through every one of them.
That it can be applicable.
Well, they're all the same graph. They're all the same study. They're all the same. This is your limit. Stay within it. The answers are in it. I'm going to throw them at you. Arbitrary systems. The middle problem first. The last problem second. The first problem third.
I just think we have to be cognizant that we need to.
Well, that's the nature of those.
The exact same way.
You know, relative perspective.
And I noticed that somebody's U.S.
No, me, I'd be anti up to the recruiter there, but I'm sure there's some kids in the middle.
Hey, your disc is not attached properly to your uniform. You need to take a little bit more pride and professionalism.
Well, when we deal the old guard by the value, it's down to the millimeter. When we go to Fermilab, it's down to 800,000 collisions a second. You know, but that doesn't mean that that variable gives them any special criteria to start getting a job in CERN. You're going to have to know certain shiny on here has a correct pattern that it's supposed to be in given the element as it's passing through position. And that gives it the weight, spin, charge that it needs to know. He wouldn't know how to fix it. He wouldn't. It's like, well, we're talking about home. We're talking about the timelines of zeros and ones before you leave your house. Before General Furnace will bring it out on the island over there about, well, this is how you lead a formation. And it's not just about that. That's the right answer. It's about how much heat comes off of there as well.
Oh, well, it's too close to.
You know, if somebody can range that there, they're going to spot weakness. It really is. This doesn't correlate weakness. I'm happy to take on that challenge if you want to let them put in front of that gate. That would be totally fine. Well, I think it poses to the general. Realistically, I think I'd be fine with him as the board promotion on this. Does he still pass this? I bet you I'd probably get in there. And I should be bold about that. If I have failure on that, it would be like one of my tags being out of place here. And boy, I'd be looking at that heart rate monitor like it's those vector positions right there. Brain scan, muon, collisions. Will we pull that together in the fusion here? I don't care if I'm calcium or you're plutonium or you're calcium and I'm plutonium. We make fluovium. That's a heavy element on systems that come in there, and we're just going to put anything that's in there and line it up with that rabbit trap right there. That's string theory.
All right, everybody, so there you go. That's 670-1. I'll leave you with a couple tips. And so the first one is, if you're being asked a standard question, then the best thing to do is to throw that part of that question in your answer. So, for example,
worked for me.
The very first question was, what does a soldier's appearance measure? A soldier's appearance measures
nothing.
The professionalism.
Nothing.
As opposed to just saying professionalism.
Measures nothing. Their appearance means nothing. What they say, what they do is an appearance. Values of X and zeros are, and I'll give you, it needs to be regimen. Without some kind of structure, it'll fall apart.
So what that does really,
but
is it slows down the.
That's to say, where I had a problem with this was huge. They never put me in the uniform to test me on those limits to say the appearance need to be set in there. You know, they say eye contact is here and they can't help but look in here. Well, what else does that mean? It's not my fucking fault that they had that and you couldn't catch that on there. And if you didn't pick up on a sergeant inside of there, that distraction, that says something about your uniform.
Sergeant Major.